too. So they try to make you sweat.
How do you get a car without getting rips off, Jess?
Yeah, don't get rips
man,
off.
you just have to walk in there with your balls hanging low, whip them out on the desk, and be like, you just really can't listen to what these car dealers tell you a lot of the times, because they're going to be like, oh, sorry, we can't do that. And if you have the confidence and if you understand how to buy a car, you're going to read right through that.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you feel bad about yourself because you're like, oh, my credit's like a 580, I don't know, like I really want this car, they're going to give it to me. It's like a fear-based thinking, right? You're going to fall into a trap and let these guys sell you something for way too much money.
Yeah. So let's talk about credit, because that, I think, is something that would give you the confidence. And unfortunately, since we're not taught about it, a lot of us fuck it up super early.
Yep.
And then they use that to hold over our heads to give us these bogus deals all the time.
true.
So let's talk about credit. It sucks because credit is bad if you get into too much debt, but you also need credit in order to build credit. So credit cards themselves are not bad. It's the abuse of credit cards that can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So starting off with a credit card, like you were saying, they'll give these 18-year-olds $5,000. You're 18, you're like, I could go shopping now. And you don't really think about how it's not just $20 a month to pay it off. You're going to be paying that the rest of your life if you only make minimum payments. But having that much money comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So
Don't
best
quote Spider-Man right now.
I can quote.
I feel it. I feel it coming.
Is it
dude.
Spider-Man or is it Batman?
Spider-Man.
It is. It's Spider. See, you guys are nerds. Fucking nerds.
No, but you're talking about credit. And
Yeah.
like I said, my mom always stressed how credit was so important. She never told me how to go about
How to build it.
to build and to take care of your credit. And just I never knew the fundamental things about credit. I just knew credit is important. And if you fuck it up, you're fucked.
It's so true.
That's what I knew. So as soon as I turned 18, my boyfriend at the time, he ended up helping me get a credit card, because immediately he knew as well, like, you need to get a credit card as soon as you turn 18 and you have to build a credit. But at that time, I'm like, well, I don't have a job. And he's like, don't worry, I'll help you pay for the credit card bill. And so he ended up using that card as if it was his card, because I didn't have a job. So he ended up fucking me over with that credit card because he didn't pay for it. And I ended up trusting him. And so I ended up having that credit card look really bad on my credit score. And like moving forward and throughout my life, I started having credit cards. I'd open up credit lines, but I was really like, I would not spend what I did not have. Like, I was always so careful to make sure that if I can't pay for this, then I'm not going to spend it, especially from that first experience with that first credit card. So ever since then, though, I've tried my best to like never be late on a single payment. And now that I'm looking into buying a home, all that work was like, it's now paid off.
And you have a massive credit score.
Yeah, girl.
Your credit score is off the chart.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm loving. I even screenshotted all 3 of my credit scores.
Little Tiff
I
came
was like,
so far.
I love it so much. Yeah, it's like 8 something. So I'm like, dude, this is
And that's
pretty dope.
excellent.
Yeah. It's really excellent.
For those of you guys that don't know how credit works, just very basically said is, okay, there's big banks and they say, hey, we're going to give you this loan. By credit, I mean credit score. And they say, hey, you need this loan? Okay, we'll give you this loan. But they refer to your credit score to see how reliable you are and how risky you are to them. So depending on that number, they can determine if you're going to be risky or not risky to lend money to you. So if your score is below, what is it, 500? 600? I think maybe even 600.
I think below 700 even.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, so if
because
it's
below 700 is fair.
Yeah, so if
650 is like, maybe you're okay, but you're not going to get the best interest rate.
Okay, so if it's below 700, then that's when they give you higher interest because you're a bigger risk. So for those that are like 0 APR, which is annual percentage rate, that means that you probably have a TIF type score where it's like your track record speaks for you, where it's like, hey, this person's really reliable. The chances of her or him paying me back are going to be highly.
You know, it's crazy. It takes years and years and years to build up to an 800 number because I've tried
And big
to be-
loans.
Exactly. Big loans. You have to be on top of your payments and not just being minimum. Like,
And guess what?
To not have a
you
big
could
balance.
wreck it in 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I did.
In 1 month.
I had excellent credit, and let me tell you, you can destroy it, and then it takes another 8 years to build all the way back up, which is something that like I would want people to know, because I thought, oh, if you like miss a few months,
No,
then
girl.
like
Why did you destroy it?
Okay, so let's first talk about how to build it, because I know this can be really overwhelming. You're hearing
is,
like
yeah.
APR and you're hearing loans and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So to build it, the main factors of your credit score are going to be the length of your credit.
Yep.
So that's why you want a card right away. But then it's
oldest.
also going to be your ratio of your debt to what's
Income.
it called? Not debt to income. It's your balance debt. Your
Oh, yeah.
balance. How
It's
much you
supposed to be
owed?
30% or
how much
lower.
versus
Oh,
how
you're
much
talking
you
about
have.
credit utilization.
Yeah, credit
That's what it is.
utilization.
Okay.
That's the term I was looking
Okay.
for. But that ratio of how much is on your balance versus how much you have to spend.
So an example would be like if it's 10,000 that they lend you in credit, you want to spend $10. It's really that low.
Right,
Below 20%.
Below 20%.
Yeah, it's really that low.
Yeah, and so the best way to build your credit is to get a credit card. It doesn't even have to be a big one. It could be like a $500 credit card. Every time you go to the grocery store, you know you could pay for your groceries, but you put it on the card instead.
Yeah.
You go home immediately and you pay it off. So this makes it look like you are using the credit that they're giving you, and you're very trustworthy with the credit. You're not letting a big balance add up and sit there.
Yeah, that's a big one, because I didn't know. Like, I would just use my debit card for everything, because I was so scared of credit.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing. You have to use the credit
Yeah.
for them to see that you actually have like a track
You need
record.
history.
Yeah. It's like, you're building that trust with all these big corporations that are going to lend you money in the future. So the third thing would be on-time payments. So you got age, the balance, and how your track record with on-time payments is. As long as you're doing that for years, then and like having a couple accounts open, as long as you're doing that, you're going to build some really solid credit, like having a car payment and paying those off on time. Those are really big lines of credit that you're paying off on time. Having a mortgage, all of that stuff.
Student loans is part of it.
Student
too.
loans, yeah.
And a pro tip here that didn't exist in my time because I'm
Because you're
kind
an
of
old
old.
fuck.
And we just didn't trust the internet because I was just like in the beginning of the internet era.
It was when internet was invented. That's when
Yeah.
Google was around. That's when Geo was around.
Yeah, it was Ask Jeeves before.
Yeah, it was.
And it was only
And
like,
Bing.
Yeah, and you like type in like I don't know, how do they make cereal? And there was only like 5 websites.
Yeah.
And dude, Ask Jeeves was huge because before then you couldn't ask questions. You had to only put in keywords. You weren't allowed to like form a sentence.
Yeah, that's how old I am. Yeah, but now with this generation, you guys have no excuse not to pay your shit on time. 'Cause
Yeah.
You guys have automatic
Yes.
So
payments.
true.
You used to have a write a check.
Yeah,
Yes.
To
mail
pay
in
the
a
bills.
check.
Yeah.
I remember like the first time I lived alone in my first apartment, I was like, okay, I'm a grown up now. I get to see like once a month, like the grown ups, they always sit down with their checkbook and their stamps and all the envelopes.
Balance
You're
the
so
And I
cute.
actually did that like once or twice where I actually wrote a check for each of my bills and I mailed it in. I'm, like, I'm such a grown up. But there was online payment.
Yeah, because you're all young. I'm going to do it the way I saw the adults do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, yeah, so I understand the credit concept now. Thanks
Okay,
for
so
explaining that.
after building that, like Tiff said, it takes like 8 years to build.
Forever.
And I did that, and I was so proud of my credit score because I had been taught at an early age to do that and all that. But then my boyfriend and I went through a breakup, and we had shared the apartment.
Oh, no.
And I couldn't afford to pay the rent on my own
Yeah.
and pay all the other bills.
Does it use your credit for the apartment?
No,
credit score?
but
Oh, okay.
I couldn't afford to pay my rent, so I used my credit card to pay the rent, to get cash advances and to pay the rent. And to me, I was
high
like,
interest.
it's temporary. Yeah, I was like,
What's
I'll-
a cash advance for those?
so for those that don't know, you can use your credit card, and some of the accounts will come with credit card checks. Yeah, and you can write a check to yourself in cash. That's like a credit card advance is what they call it. It comes with higher interest, but you get cash right away. And so that's a trap that a lot of poor people
Yep.
or people that weren't trained in money fall into, because they're like, oh, I can get cash right away. I'll just borrow.
Worry about it
from my-"
later, yeah.
Yeah, worry about it later.
Oh, man.
Is that why those check into cash places are so
Yes,
huge?
yes. And they screw people over.
Damn.
Well, and they take a percentage.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're
I-
hard
you
on
don't just
cash,
cash it.
Yeah.
you know? So in my mind, I was like, this is really temporary. I plan on making more money really soon, so I'm going to pay this back. And that just took longer than expected. And it got to the point where creditors were calling me every day because they wanted me to pay the the bill. And I actually had a heart-to-heart with the creditor, and I was like, my boyfriend just broke up with me. All this stuff happened. I know it's your job to collect money. I understand that completely. I know you're just telling me what you need to tell me. And I just need you to know that I hear you. I want to pay you back as soon as possible. It's not happening right now. And I can't foresee it happening for at least another 6 months. And they actually gave me a break. She made a note in my report that was like
hard times.
Don't call her for 6 months.
How cute.
Yeah.
She just broke up with her boyfriend.
Yeah, she's like, I just spoke up with my boyfriend too. she actually like understood me. It felt nice to be sympathized with.
I don't think that works normally.
It doesn't.
Usually they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can talk to, just like you can negotiate your car price.
Yeah.
You can negotiate a lot of things with credit that I think people aren't aware of. Like you
It's
said,
damaging though, because I settled a credit card bill for less than what I owed, and it stays on your credit for a while, and it looks really bad.
well, you can negotiate that too. You can negotiate your own terms. You can say, I'll settle with you guys if you don't put this down on my credit card report, and you get written notice, and you don't send in your
I didn't
money.
know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks that you can do. You can just make sure that they had the written notice that they will not put it on your report, and then you give them the money and settle the thing. But they'll take whatever they can get. So if you don't know to negotiate, they're not going to let you know what
they're
you
not
can
gonna
do.
tell you.
Right, which is why this is important to know.
Yeah.
And with building your credit and with the car, if you've already screwed up your credit, like for me, I screwed up my credit and I still wanted to buy a car to build it back up again because eventually I wanted to buy a house. If someone loves you very, very much, like Tiff, like say you're friends with Tiff and she loves you very, very much, and she's like, yo, I think you're a reliable person that just was in a hard spot, you can ask to be put on her line of credit. And that's what I did with my dad.
As a cosigner.
As a cosigner, right? And
that helps you with your credit.
yeah, and even so, I'm the one making all my car payments, but it's through my dad's credit score. So both of our scores are going up every time I.
You know what's crazy? So when I was assisting Bart, he had me go on so I could make purchases for him.
Yeah.
And that line of credit, not until now, like I said, I'm trying to buy a house. I looked in my credit reports and stuff. That credit line was still in my report, where I'm like, it should be a good thing, but he had like a higher balance than I normally have on my credit lines. So it was actually affecting my credit negatively.
Oh.
So I had to call in and be like, hey, this isn't my line of credit. And so it's a really, really smart thing to do, is just to continuously look at your credit report and see what's on there. Because there were also addresses that weren't mine. And there were other names that it was like a different spelling of my actual name. So I had to like correct that stuff too. And I don't know, like a lot of stuff actually affects your credit and your credit report, where I was like, what the hell? I didn't know that.
That's a good thing to point out. A lot of you guys may not be aware, but you can check your credit for free without
Once a year.
Yeah, without it damaging anything, once a year. And there's like free sites that you can hit up. I'm under 2 just because I'd like to just see what the hell is going on with my credit and just whatever's tied to my social security number. I use freecreditreport.com. And it gives me all 3. I mean, it is at an additional charge, but I do see the Experian, the Trans America, I think it's called, or TransUnion.
Yeah, what I actually did, I went to each website and they give it to you through that website. So like Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
Yeah. Or you can go to Credit Karma, because I like using those ones in particular because they tell you like how to read your credit report. They give you different exercises. There's like even like if you have a goal, like if you want to buy a house in like 5 years or whatever, and it shows you if you're on track to doing all that stuff, and it explains everything very basically for you to understand, and it doesn't use crazy terminology where you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
About?
Yeah,
So
it even tells
I
you
would
the
suggest
negative points on your
And why it went negative.
Exactly.
Right.
And stuff.
A lot of credit cards actually come with credit trackers now, so you don't even need to use those websites. Like, because I know Capital One has
CreditWise,
and
yeah.
There's
I use
Chase
that.
has one too. So like, I never even go to check my credit. Like, it's just always in an email. Capital One's like, nothing happened on your credits, this month. Like, everything's looking good. I'm like, cool.
Even Mint has one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Mint
definitely
is actually
would.
great.
Yeah, they're really good. I would definitely take advantage of that. And then things that affect or things that you need credit scores for is, like you said, buying a car,
Buying a house. Anytime
renting
you
an
need-
apartment.
Loan.
Any sort of loan. Yeah.
Even your utility bills, like if you have a bad credit score and you try to get like an electric bill set up, like when you move into a new place and
You know,
your
I
credit
found
score
out
is
that
really
you
bad.
can add your utilities to your credit
To make it look better,
make
right?
it look better
Yeah, but
because
for
you're
people who
making
have bad
payments.
credit, they wind up having to pay deposits on their electric bills and stuff because their credit's so bad. So.
And we are going to tell you how to take care of that after we talk about
On fire.